Okay, I think we'll get started. So hopefully everybody can see my screen. If your video is on, you can turn your video off and you can turn your audio off until the end of the presentation. Then if you have a question or that may give you a little better viewing depending on your internet connection and things like that. To ask a question, you can go to the chat and you can ask a question. I won't look at those until the end of the meeting. And also at the end of the meeting, like I say, you can unmute and show your video and you can ask a question there. The handout that we were just talking about is out on the club website in the past meetings area. Before we get to the main topic, we'll talk about a little bit about some club status. The MACSIG, there's a meeting coming up this Friday, August 19th. And then they cover their usual new things coming, and I think the new iPhone is going to be coming out in September, and so there'll be a few things probably like that. And then we have once a month, we usually have a question and answer, hour session. If you've got any questions, the next one will be Tuesday, September 6th. And then our next general meeting is Wednesday, September 21st. That'll be on digital note taking with OneNote. And I'll talk about why use a notes package instead of a word processor. And then I'll be showcasing or showing Microsoft OneNote, which is free to use on any device. So it's a very nice package, and you can see how I use it. And if you currently aren't using it, most people that I show do end up using it because it is very handy. As Paula mentioned a little bit earlier, we do have coming up a little over a week. Next Thursday, August 25th, we have a get-together of the club at the Pizza Ranch, which is just across from the Stillwater High School. Club is subsidizing some of it, so it'll be lunch, it'll be social. We won't have an official meeting, but we will have an election and just get together. We haven't seen everybody in quite a long time there. And you can sign up. You have to sign up by this Sunday, the 21st, and hope you can make it there. These are the officers. Jim is our president. Linda is our vice president. Excuse me. Paul is our membership secretary. Paula is our treasurer. Chuck is our recording secretary. Mike is the MACSIG leader. Andrew is our communication coordinator. Tom, myself, I'm a director at large. Members old and new, you can pay your dues to Paul. He does send out email notices when your membership expires. So unlike some of the other clubs that expire, let's say the end of December, depending on the month that you join the PC club, that's when your membership comes due, and he'll send out reminders and that. But also, if you are changing your email that we have on file, or maybe you're retiring or you're changing to a different email address, make sure you notify Paul, because that's the only way that we can keep in touch with people is with their email. If you do have suggestions for topics, you can email your topics to any of the board members or talk to us, especially next week. We'll be most of us will be at the pizza luncheon there. And if you'd like to volunteer to present on any hardware or software that you use, could be something at work, could be something at home, or if you don't want to present, we do have a monthly eBytes newsletter. You can write a short, meaning a sentence or two, or multiple pages for our newsletter. Our website, we put the past meetings and slides and handouts, so that'll be out there, and usually we record the meeting and put that out there also. So if you miss one or want to revisit one, you can look out there and you can get access there. We also have a deals section, our newsletter, and the link is here, and the link also is in all the emails that we send out. Okay, let's get to our main topic today, which is digitizing old photos, slides, and negatives by myself, Tom Kreuzer. I can't stress this enough. Don't let your memories hide from you and everybody else. Digitize them so that they can be viewed from anywhere on any device by anybody. And so that sharing, you can share these memories, you can share this with everybody. Don't keep them hidden away in albums that you look at every 10 years or on slides that you no longer have a projector to show them. There's no better time than now to digitize them. Don't be overwhelmed with the task to digitize. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. If you've got all kinds of albums and you've got stuff in shoe boxes or up in the attic or all over, don't let that overwhelm you. Just attack it one album at a time, one group at a time there. Start with that single photo album and go from there. All you need for photos, a photo album, is a multifunction printer, and almost every printer now has a scanner in it, and that scanner works great for scanning your photos. I'll also be showing or talking about today if you have slides or negatives. Then you need a special device, but you'll see that the device isn't that expensive and it's relatively easy to use. Over the past 20 years, I've scanned and organized more than 15,000 images of my family and relatives. So I've collected their different albums, I've done all kinds of things. And believe it or not, I enjoyed creating and sharing the photos. So some people look at it as, oh, it's too much work or going to take me too much time. But boy, the satisfaction when you do get stuff scanned and sharing with other people and they start asking questions or it brings up dialogues and that with other people, it's just great. If you don't want to do it yourself, certainly there's services out there that you can pay. The example I list here is a place right near me. It's called Astound on Cleveland Avenue in St. Paul. They charge between $1 to $2 for each digital image. It can get very expensive when you have hundreds or thousands of photos, and these services can't do everything for you. So they can digitize an image, but they can't organize it. They can't figure out that this is Uncle Jimmy on there, and they certainly aren't going to be sharing it. If I had went to a service like Astound there to scan the images that I have, would have cost between $15,000 and $30,000 just for the scan cost. So I don't recommend using services. I recommend you do it yourself. Most of us, especially for the photographs and that, you already have a scanner. You can do it. Okay, scanning. What do you need to do it? Well, I mentioned most of us have a printer, and that printer is a multifunction printer. The printers can do scanning, and that includes photographs. Personally, I have a Canon MF 424DW printer scanner. So that's what this picture over on the right is. Looks expensive, but it really isn't. I paid $210 for it in 2019. It's a black and white printer. I can manually scan one photo at a time in the flatbed. So this flatbed lets me copy or scan things. It also has an auto feed, so I can actually put in a stack of photographs and just let it go through the stack there and that. It scans at a resolution of up to 600 by 600, and the flatbed scanner portion of it has a maximum size of 8.5 by 11, which certainly works for most things there. And that's what we'll be talking about here. Another thing that you can use when you're digitizing things is most of us have a smartphone, and that phone has a camera on it. And you can use that smartphone camera for large photos or pictures or documents that won't fit into your scanner. I use an app called Google Photo Scan that enhances and removes glare, does automatic edge detection, perspective correction, and smart rotation. So if there's glare or anything on the photo, if it's a glossy paper or anything like that, this gets rid of the glare, gives you the best quality digitization of that photo or document that you can get. If you do have slides and negatives, there's relatively inexpensive scanners that do a very good job. What I personally use is a Pile 22 megapixel film scanner. It's about 6 inches high, so it's not a big unit. Cost, you can buy them for between $60 and $100. It's good. It's a good quality unit. Fast. Most of your time is spent organizing and cleaning. And when I say fast, I'm talking about to scan. To scan an image with these devices is about 2 seconds to scan, because essentially what the unit is it's a digital camera. It's a camera in there that takes a picture. Now this unit can do slides, negatives, and black and white. It can do 135 millimeter, 126, 110, and even Super 8 film stills. The camera that's in there is a 22 megapixel camera. It also has a 2.4-inch digital LCD display for doing image previews. It's self-contained, meaning that I don't have to plug it into a computer or load software on the computer. Which is nice, because in the past, these scanning units or most of the scanning required special drivers, and if you upgraded to a new version of Windows or you tried to use it on Macintosh or switch between Windows and Macintosh, you'd have problems there finding a driver and being able to use it. But this unit does not plug into the computer, which makes it very nice there to stand alone. So when you're scanning, you can be anywhere with this device because it's only about 6 inches high and 3 inches wide, and small and easy and portable to move around. What it does is it acts like a camera. So it digitizes the images onto an SD memory card. Those SD memory cards can then be loaded into a Mac, a PC, or wherever. So it makes it very convenient there. Let's take a quick look. Since I can't turn on my camera right now and show you my unit, let's take a look out at Amazon here. And this is the unit from out on Amazon here. And you can see they're selling it for $75 here. Let's see, I was going to do this. Let's look at this little video. we're going to close that. Let's go back to the presentation here. And they were, when they were showing the different settings there, making it lighter or darker, trying to correct some of the stuff, you can do some correction on the scanner itself. I recommend doing that in a package. So really, it's a matter of just putting in your negatives, making sure they're clean and dust-free, and literally, it's only going to take you a few seconds to snap the picture there. Okay, the other thing to do this scanning, as I just mentioned, usually you're going to be using software to edit and organize the files that you just digitized. And I use Google Picasa and Google Photos, and I'll talk about what I do there and why I use the packages there. First, some scanning tips when you're going to go through and do it. The first tip is delete photos. Do not keep every photo you've ever taken. If the quality is not good or you have multiple photos that show the same thing, delete them. Your friends will and family will thank you. Nobody wants to sit through boring slides and photos there. Your photos should contain pictures of people and should be interesting. If they don't meet criteria like that, delete them, get rid of them. The other thing you want to do is you want to organize the photos by year and by month before you scan it. It's easier to, if you have photographs, and if your albums are already organized that way, you may have albums that were chronological. You may already have them organized that way, but you want to have it in some kind of an order there, and usually by year and month works there. If you don't know the exact date, give it your best guess. If it was photos or slides or things like that taken in the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s, a lot of that media already has a date when it was developed or processed. So you can get a good idea there of around the right time and around the right date and year there. If not, take your best guess, and then as you start showing and sharing this stuff with friends and relatives, you can make changes and organize it in the right spot there. The other thing is remove duplicates or photos that you've already digitized or gotten from other sources. If you remember back in the 70s and 80s and 90s, it was relatively inexpensive to get multiple copies of a photo. So you may have either in your own collection, or if you're scanning your relatives, your brothers or sisters or mothers, or that, you may find duplicate photos. You can do it manually, but I prefer to use a package called VisiPix. It's a free software that'll go through and find duplicates for you automatically, and you can set how exact a match it has to be. So it isn't just looking at the file size and has to be exactly the same. No, it looks at the content of the photo, and it will does a very good job of finding duplicate photos in your collection. Another thing here, this is very important. If your scanner glass has dust or fingerprints on it, your scanning images are not going to look the best that they can look. And I recommend using a 3M high performance cloth. You may be using it already for eyeglasses or other things there. But clean the scanner glass every 30 or 40 scans that you do, because dust will build up on it and possibly fingerprints. I mentioned here, do not touch the glass with your fingers. Personally, when I'm using the flatbed scanner, I use the next photo to kind of pull up the photo that's down there so that my finger does not come in contact with the glass, because your fingers have oil on it and the oil gets transferred to the glass, and then your photos aren't going to be as sharp as they can be. You can also use gloves. You can get white cotton gloves at places like Amazon there. This is especially true when doing slides and negatives. Make sure and handle them by the edges or use cotton gloves that can be bought on Amazon. Clean the images of dust and smudges before you scan them, especially slides and negatives. Use an air can or a brush to remove dust from slides and negatives. Put the slides and negatives with the dull emulsion side down so that the image is not reversed. If you put it in the wrong way in these scanners, the lettering, let's say it's a sign or any words that are in the picture, will not show up correctly. Also, the scan will not be as sharp and as clear as what it could be either if you don't put it in the right way. Once you get into kind of a groove of using either manually putting stuff into your flatbed scanner, I can do about 200 photos an hour, which is quite a bit. And so you can get through an album there pretty fast. Or if you're doing slides, because you have to clean them and organize them a little bit, that maybe 60 slides or negatives an hour. It's going to take time, but again, it's a labor of love there. If you do have the original negatives and a scanner that supports negatives, like I just showed, scan the negatives instead of the photos. A lot of people may have lost their negatives or they aren't organized, and that's okay. Scan the photos. That may be easier than trying to find the negatives or if they've been destroyed or lost. If you can find the negatives though, you'll find that you'll get a better quality image, especially compared to scanning a 3x5 photo there. The negative would have been higher quality. Almost any scanner will do for photos. I scan at 600 dots per inch and save the images as JPEGs at 95%, which means that there's less than 5% compression. You get better quality, the size of the file is a little bit larger, but nowadays most of us have space to bigger hard drives and the cloud to store these images. Also, while you're going through and scanning photographs, you can scan other documents like awards, artwork, old school papers, drawings, yearbooks, newspapers, and just about anything else that you may have in an old trunk or whatever. Might as well collect all that stuff and digitize it. When you're working with photo albums, take the photos out of the album to scan. Frequently, the old photos or the old albums may have had plastic, and that plastic may be crinkled up or yellowed or have all kinds of problems. So you want to take them out of the plastic there to get the best quality scan that you can get. Some scanners have an automatic document feed where you can place a stack of 25 pictures and let it scan. And when I talked about my printer scanner, mine will handle that, which means that I can put in a stack of photos and walk away and come back in 5 minutes and it's all done there. Photos that are taped or glued in scrapbooks can be scanned as the entire page. So you can usually fit those into your scanner, into the flatbed scanner. Keep the page as flat against the glass as you can to give you, again, the best quality. Be very careful sliding negatives so that you don't scratch negatives, and for that matter, slides also. I mentioned here I had some Ektachrome slides from the 60s. That was one of the first commercial color slides, and they didn't age well. Let's say they didn't age well. The colors really turned strange. There were spots on the slides. The tints were bad. I didn't scan those or use those as color, but instead converted all those to black and white, which gave me a better image than having weird colors or spots or things like that. So you'll just have to play around with some things. That's all I'm doing is mentioning if you do run into some problems or that. Some other editing and organization tips. You can use many packages to edit and organize your images that range in price from free to $500 for something like Adobe Photoshop. I recommend and use the free software Google Picasa, like I mentioned earlier. It's very fast, easy to use, and provides very good editing and organization tools. I haven't found a replacement for it. Picasa retired Google, and so no new updates have been made to Google Picasa since May of 2016. But it still works for what I need, and I continue to use it. You can do most of what I'll show, because I'll be demoing what I do in Picasa with these images. You can do most of what I do in free software like Microsoft Photos. So Microsoft Photos comes with Windows 10, Windows 11. It is a powerful package there. It just doesn't have as many features as Picasa has. Or if you have Apple, you can use the iPhotos or Photos on the Mac. There's also good alternatives to do some of the editing and organization using websites like Google Photos. That, again, has some limited capabilities, not as many features and functions as I have in Picasa. So that's why I do my stuff in Picasa and then load it up to Google Photos. If you do need space or want to share or need a little more advanced editing, you can buy a subscription to Adobe Lightroom. That's $120 a year. Plus you get, I think, 100 gig of storage space also. So what I usually do when after I scan my images, and the images may have come from my black and white printer scanner there, so I may have gotten them from there, or I may have gotten from the slides or the negatives. The first thing I usually do with the photos is I make sure and get them in the right direction. So if they were vertical, I make them horizontal. I get it in the right direction there. Then I edit it. Then if it wasn't exactly straight when it was scanned, I straighten it out. So for most of the things I don't have to do, but if I'm doing scrapbook pages or if by chance it didn't exactly end up straight, I'll straighten it out there. I then go through and crop, and this is similar to deleting the images. No sense keeping a bad photograph. Crop out the unneeded parts of the images that really don't add anything. This is especially true on vertical pictures. Then I'll auto-correct the levels, and this is both the color and the contrast. Picasa has an automatic feature called I'm Feeling Lucky, and that usually does a very good job of adjusting the color and contrast. Then occasionally I may sharpen the image itself if it needs a little help there, or if I think it might help, but that's something that I rarely do. If it's black and white or sepia, the old non-color images, I'll go through and clean those up a little bit. Also, red eye. If you remember back in the 70s and 80s, a lot of the Instamatic cameras had the flashes at kind of the wrong angle, which could cause eyes to look red. And packages like Picasa have the ability to automatically detect and correct the red eyes so that your people don't look like the devil there. Then I usually do a people scan of the faces to identify and manually add people to the photos and the tags. And if the image still needs work, I use some of the other tools available in Picasa that there's a retouching, or if I do see some lint or a hair or something like that, I might clean that off. Then I continue on to the next photo. Okay, let's do a quick demo of Google Picasa. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where am I here? Here's Picasa. So I'm in Picasa right now, and I have a folder made up of images that I'm going to be using in this demo here. And these are images, actual images that I had scanned in on my printer there, and I have some slides there also. So the process that I talked about, I usually bring in an image. So this is an example of bringing in the image. Well, all the photos that I scanned were in a horizontal position. This photo happens to be vertical, so I rotate it. And the next thing I do up here, I straighten it. Well, this is straight. Again, most of the photos aren't going to need to be straightened. Then I crop it. So I'm going to go in here, and I've got lots of dead space here. No sense keeping that dead space. So I come in here and I identify this is the area that I really want my photo there. Then I go through and do this I feel lucky to adjust the color and contrast, and you can see it got rid of some of that tint there. Does a very good job there. Sharpens. Everything looks okay. No red eye. If there was red eye, I could get rid of red eye here. Everything looks okay for this photo. So we move on to the next one. Here's the next one. We don't have to rotate it. Don't have to straighten it. Don't have to crop it. Looks okay. We'll just do the I feel lucky. Get the colors and contrast balance. Looks good. That's all I had to do with this photo. Move on to the next one. So this is an old one from a 126 camera. Again, I go through here. I don't have to rotate it. I do have to crop it because the 126 is almost a square format. So I am going to do this. And I crop it there. Now I can do the I feel lucky there and look at the difference that it made. So in the photo album, it was barely recognizable that you could see those ghost images there. So let's go back here. This is what it looked like in the photo album, and that's what was scanned. But the package, you can resurrect a lot of your old photographs and have them looked good. So you're saving them. That's the other reason that it can be fun to actually scan is you get this stuff back. This is myself over here on the right, my sister and brother and dad, and my grandma and grandpa. So I don't have to change any red here. Don't have to do anything else. Let's move on to the next image. Oh, here's a handsome devil here. This is when I was in grade school. So we don't have to rotate, but I purposely scan this one so that it's not straight. So in Picasa here, I can come in and I can straighten it out. So first we straighten it out. There we go. We straightened it out. We come in here, we crop it. If I can use my mouse correctly. We crop it. We do the I feel lucky there. It looks pretty good here. The only thing is, let's zoom in here. Oh, we see we got a little bit of lint here. There's a little bit of lint here. I can retouch it. I can go in here very easily and bang, I can do that. And let's go down here. I think there's also some lint down here. Here we've got a piece of lint down here. Let's get rid of that. Bang, got that. Got rid of the lint. So it takes me a few seconds there to do the things. I, again, resurrected an old photo, made it look real nice there. You may not like the subject too well, but you'll have your own subjects to deal with there. Okay, let's move on to the next one. This is a photo was a slide. I shot slides. This is in college. I went to St. John's University. I took pictures for the yearbook at St. John's and also for the St. Cloud Times newspaper. So this slide, obviously the colors and everything's pretty good. When it did scan it, we can see I should do a little crop here. So I don't have to rotate it, but I don't need the borders, get the cropping done to what I like. And that's all I have to do to this photo. There's nothing else I have to do here, unless I look in here and we'll see, oh, there's a small piece of lint there. Well, again, we can go back in here and retouch it. I'm going to make my brush size a little bit bigger. Go in here. Uh, let's see if I can make it even bigger here. Uh, uh, and we'll apply. So you can do your retouching and that, but in this case, not much that I had to do there. Move on to the next slide. Here's a slide from St. John's. Again, the colors look pretty good there. I do have to crop it, so I go in here and crop the image. And done with that image. There's another one, sunset. Go back in here, crop the image. So you can see, I can move through these slides and do this stuff pretty fast here, especially after you get used to doing some of the things. Here's an image here. This is my one of my great nephews there, or not? Well, no, he's what will he be? On my brother's side. This is from a Super 8, Super 8 movie. You can see if you're digitizing Super 8 stills, the quality isn't that good. But if it's the only photo you have or you want to resurrect it, you can get a little bit. The quality, because it's such a small negative in that from the Super 8, you aren't going to end up with it being very sharp or that, but you can go through and you can try and see if you can resurrect it there. So that's an example of using Picasa there. Let's go back here. Let's go back here. Okay, so once you've got them digitized, once you've brought them into your software, you've cleaned them up, and you have done some things in there. Uh, Another option exciting option that has come up in the past few years is the ability to colorize some old black and white photos. So in 2020, MyHeritage, a family genealogy service, offered free unlimited access to convert and sharpen black and white photos to color for several months. Color photos can look better and evoke more emotions than black and white because they appear natural, and the examples that they showed look great, so I thought I'd try it. I do have a free account. I use MyHeritage on my PC for my family tree and genealogy. So it was I already had my free account. I logged in, uploaded pictures, and converted them. The conversion that it uses to convert to color is trained on millions of images. So the service used what's called deep learning or artificial intelligence to identify those objects on your photo, which are living objects, non-living objects. This is the sky, this is grass, this is bricks, this is carpet, and colorize them accordingly. So it's not a manual process, it's literally done in seconds. You upload your image to the service, it works its magic in seconds, and then you can download the color image. A small percentage of my black and white photos didn't convert well, and because this was a free offering, they added a little watermark to the photo also. But I loved the results, and I ended up doing, I don't know what it was, maybe 1,000 black and white. They also have a service to remove scratches and to animate short video of people. And let's go out here. Let's do this. This is going out to my heritage here, and this talks about deep story. So you may have heard of deep fakes and stuff like that, news that makes it look like one person is making a statement and that person is either dead or never made the statement, that kind of thing. Well, actually, this service you can create your own deep stories using old slides, people, stuff like that. So let's see if we can pull this
Let me
up.
tell you the story of my life.
Introducing Deep Story. Make your family photos speak and create amazing video biographies.
Je viens d'une longue lignée de motards.
Te pareces tanto a mí cuando tenía tu edad.
Select an ancestor, and we'll create their deep story automatically based on your family tree.
I was born on July 5, 1897, in the small town of Newcastle, Pennsylvania. I had 3 brothers and sisters. I was the eldest. Then came Parker.
Customizing a deep story is easy. Use the Deep Story editor to edit and add more details and photos until you're happy with the results.
Let me tell you about the time I almost got on the wrong train. Thank goodness my mother grabbed me by the jacket.
Make your family photos speak with over 140 voices in 31 languages. Try Deep Story now for free.
Let me tell you the story of my life.
Introduce.
Okay, let's go back here. I'm going to show a couple of examples of what I did in colorizing them. So these are my great grandparents from 1880. This is the black and white photo that I had scanned and cleaned up. But running it through the colorization and that, you can see it gives a very nice approach there. Here's a picture with my mother from 1938, a 50th wedding anniversary. And again, it's a nice photo, but black and white. It doesn't invoke the same feeling in that. Let's take a look here. Here's the colorized. It colorized the greens, the garden stuff, the skies, everything there. Does a very good job there with this, and even the sharpness and stuff like that. You've got very sharp there and cleaned up images there. This is a photo of my mom and dad who were married in 1952. They had black and white photos. They didn't have any color photos, but I took this wedding picture of theirs, and this is the colorized version there. And again, very nice. The only thing that it didn't really get right is you'll see it looks like he's got a red tie on here. He did not have a red tie. It was a black tie, but you can see it did a good job with the bricks and the colors and everything there. Very nice example there. Here's a picture. This is myself. This is from 1959. My sister and my brother there. Again, black and white. It's a cute photo, but this is what it looks like in color. Very nice. Here you can see the little tags that it put on using the free version. If you pay if you buy a MyHeritage subscription, then you won't have this on. But I was using the free version, and so it put that on. I show this photo. I hadn't seen this photo. I don't recall ever in my life. This is my dad, and this is my sister, and my dad reading a book called Daddies. And this year at Father's Day, my sister brought out this photo and was showing it to my dad, and she said, "You can take a look at this. You can't take it with you, though, because that's the only photo she had." And it actually had holes in it. So these are holes in the photo, and it's discolored and had some problems there and stuff like that. And what I did is I used the Google Photo Scan with my camera because I didn't have my scanner right there. But I took a picture of it there, cleaned it up, did some retouching in here and stuff like that. This is what I ended up in black and white. And then I colorized it. Much better version. It's just amazing what it can do there. This is another photo of my grandmother and grandfather at their wedding in 1924. That deep fake deal is kind of creepy. I haven't really used it yet, but I quickly show this. This is my grandfather and my grandmother. You can take any photo that you have, and it'll strip out the face in there, and it can create a 14-second animation. So this is an animation just based off of the face in the photo, and you can take anyone that's long deceased, long gone, and it's I don't know, it's somewhat a little creepy. I haven't found a use for it. Maybe the slideshow type deal, I may end up doing something with that, but right now I'm okay there. Okay. Naming and organizing. Once you have your objects, you do want to organize it. You can select your images. I recommend naming it with a year, month, and day. This lets you sort your images by file name and look for things, take your best guess, and organize there. And then the other thing is all your scans are going to have the date when you scanned them. And what you really want to do is you have to use a package. Again, I use Picasa, but certainly there's other packages. I go through and I change the date so that if I upload them to programs like Google Photos, they show up in the right year and the right area there. I also add GPS location because, again, the scans aren't going to have GPS information, but I'll organize my slides there by putting GPS information where I know the address of the old house or where they were taken. I also add tags to help organize. So you can add tags with people, birthdays, Christmas, trips, wedding, whatever. You can put images in a folder and organize that way, whether it's by year, you can do that. Now in Picasa, everything that I was doing in Picasa, if I want to use it in another package or upload it to a service like Google Photos, I have to do what's called an export and create a new JPEG or a new photo there that I can use outside of Picasa, because Picasa is not editing or changing the original image at all. Then I move those exported photos to a new photo album. Again, I use Google Photos for putting up. I back up and share those images. Make sure once you start scanning them that you are backing them up, because the last thing you'd like to do is put in hours and hours of work and then lose the photos there. So you do want to have it. Let's take a look at Google Photos if I can. Where am I? Here, let's go here. Quickly pull up Google Photos here. And I could go in under different views. So I have mine by years and some occasions here. And so you can see I can go back to any period of time that I want. And let's pick 59 here. So here's the photos that I have from 1959. There's that photo that we just looked at that was colorized, and most of these were black and white and had to be colorized, and again, it does a very good job of that. We don't have to show that. Well, or let's go back here. So these also, I've identified the people in the pictures and things like that so that I can easily search and I can find those items. So a lot of power there. And once they're in Google Photos too, Google Photos is letting me search on different things. I can go up here, and even though I didn't put tags for a cat or anything like that, it can go through and, well, it showed me those are caterpillar. See, it found the word cat somewhere in the photo there. here's some pictures of cats here that it identified the cat correctly, and so you can search for just about anything there. Let's go back here. Okay, let's open it up for questions. We'll take a look at the chat. So to do that, what I'm going to do is first go in here and let me do this. Let me get some of these down, and I will stop sharing. And if you do want to ask a live question, you can unmute yourself and bring it up that way. Okay, let's start back up here. Let's see. I started using PhotoScan, and it's nice, especially if it's a bit glary. Yeah, so that can be very, very good there. Tom, what about scanning really old negatives that are large format singles? What I did there is I actually did have some 2 1/4 inch black and white. And what I did there is I used a digital camera that I have and a light table. And I ended up taking a picture of it that way. And then almost every package will let you turn negatives into positives. So you can do some things like that. But certainly it's a little more work for the stuff that's bigger format. And the, oh, here, let me undo my deal here. Let me just take, yeah, let's go back here. So I turn back on my deal. What I was going to show too is this is my scanner here that I use, and that in there. Dan, Mitch, you would need a flatbed scanner. Yeah, so a flatbed scanner does not work for negatives. So people who think that they can use a flatbed scanner for negatives, you need backlighting. So you need a light in the back to project through the negative or the slide.
Yeah, the ones that I mentioned do have a light in them. So
okay.
They're negative flatbed negative scanners. Yeah, yeah. But most of them, you're right, don't have that backlight. You're screwed then.
Yeah, yeah. And so if you know a friend that has set up a light table, or what I've done is I've created my own over the years, I've created my own slide sorters and things like that, where I have a table that essentially has a light source in it, some opaque white deal that I can set negatives and slides and that on and view it. And if you can view it, then if you have a good digital camera that can do macro capability, then you can actually take a photo of it and digitize it that way. Any units you know of that'll automatically feed and scan old postcards? Yeah, actually the postcards, same as a photo. So the feeder, like on my printer, will feed anything, so any size you can put in there. And actually I did photos or did postcards. I did, I think, over 500 for my brother who had collected postcards from a hometown where I am, and I scanned all those in. Okay, Picasa did a great job with some of those photos. Is it free? Picasa is free. The trouble is, it's if you do a search on it, be careful where you might try and download it from, because there's hackers out there that'll put viruses in there, and if you're downloading from unknown sites, and a lot of sites don't have Picasa because, again, it isn't being updated. Again, if you are interested in it, let me know, because you want to be safe if you're going to be downloading any software. But there is software for the Macintosh, and there is software for the Windows. So you just have to find the most current, or the last version that was created out there. Okay, Mitch mentions you could remove the heritage watermarks with Picasa. You can, but again, it wasn't a big deal for me. They're down at the bottom, and I still have the original. So at some point, I may, if I ever do sign up for a full version of Picasa, MyHeritage, or a better conversion to color comes around, then I'll use that. Okay. You only format to 3x5 or 4x6 if you plan on printing the photo later. I'm not, you can, when you scan, and I didn't get into all the scanning settings that you possibly have, but there is a possibility of changing that. Now that if you're viewing it online, really doesn't matter what you have. When I scan it at 600 dots per inch, that gives me X number of pixels there. And when it's shown on the screen in a package like Google Photos or that extrapolates or figures out the how to size it in the proper area there. So the business about I originally started with a 3x5 and I'm going to have an 8x10 or something like that. That's all handled by the package that you're using, how it extrapolates or blows it up there. Okay. Any other questions or comments? The biggest thing, like I mentioned early on, it sounds like a daunting task, and it is a daunting task. I'm not gonna lie and say that you're gonna start this on a weekend and be done with all your albums. No, this process for me, getting albums from my parents, the photos that I had, the organization, things like that. That took multiple years. I wasn't working on it continuously, but I do an album here, I do an album there, and you just go through. And to me, the satisfaction of seeing the content, so you could see in some of the conversions I did where it really brought back to life some of the images that in the album were almost unrecognizable or that had faded so much, it brought back the real image there. So to me, it's a labor of love. Everyone will love it once you get things done, but I won't kid you and say that it's you're going to get it done in a weekend or you're going to take all your photos and digitize it this month, because even if you paid a service and gave them your shoebox full of stuff, you get it back and you still have to go through and organize it, or you should go back through and crop it and do all the things to so that you can search it, so that you can find things, identify people in there. I didn't show in Picasa, but Picasa will do automatic recognition of faces and assign them to albums, and then I usually end up adding those names also to the tags, and just to make it easier to find people. So I can make a slideshow of all the photos I have from this particular person from the year 2000 to the year 2003. It's one search and I'm done. Any questions or comments?
Hi, Tom?
Sure.
I have one. Unfortunately, I didn't get into this meeting until it was halfway through. I'm working on a fence project. Otherwise, I'd be doing photo stuff too, and I'll tie that thought up at the end of this comment. But that got a little bit, got me behind by 10 minutes on the meeting, and then my doggone internet keeps crashing again. It's doing it about 3 times a day. I've checked the battery, had that diagnosed, at Best Buy. Also learned that my Geek Squad program that they keep taking money out of my account for every year doesn't exist anymore in the same format. And so they're just happily taking what they can get from me. The new program, which provides a whole lot of customer services, is now $199 a year. So I think it's almost better to do that on the occasions that you really need their service. For example, when you're setting up a new computer or something like that. But I digress. The other thing, this happened a couple of years ago with that other laptop, and the internet disconnects were, I think, a warning about the battery, but apparently my battery is fine. So does this maybe suggest, and I'm going to get to my Picasso question, but does this, as an aside question, suggest I should be looking at upgrading my router modem that is now about 4 years old? And maybe it just can't, there's so many more new people signing on, maybe it can't handle things again, and that would improve my connection is what I'm thinking. So now with Picasso and the gate stuff and all the doggone house maintenance things, I love what you share on this, and I was so disappointed that it took me a half an hour to get connected and have internet work again so I could listen to it. If in fact, and I'm also seeing that maybe what I need to do is sell my house and get someplace where I don't have to put all this time into maintenance. But you have explained what you do with this so effectively through the years. And every time you demonstrate it, you know, you reinforce and remind us of these wonderful capabilities Picasso has. So do you think by the time I had the time to actually have the time to devote to that, because you got to kind of stay focused on
Yeah,
that.
and
Picasso, a good version of Picasso would be lasting indefinitely,
the package itself is not going to do anything for you if you have to do the work yourself. And
the operating system.
too many people think that they can buy, and this isn't just photos, but they think that they can buy a package and the package is going to do everything for them. And a spreadsheet doesn't do everything for you. You have to know what you want to do. And
well, I thought Picasso 3 was what you were utilizing to demonstrate to us what you were able to accomplish with.
But that's what I used for editing and organizing. You could use Microsoft Photo, you could use Google Photos. You have, and this is what I tell people, and I should have added it to my slideshow. Is I heard this many years ago. I was with my sister. We were out walking, and we had walked past a house that had a beautiful garden, and the guy was out there working on his garden, and my sister and I walked past, and we said, "Oh, what a beautiful garden that you have there." And the guy turned to us and he said, "If you'd get off your fat ass, you could have a garden that looked like this too."
No
And
kidding.
that's my comment to everyone still listening. You can have fine digital photographs. Get off your fat ass and start doing it.
My fat ass is really skinny because I'm working so hard on the other projects.
Well, but see, that's the thing.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm going to be moving in probably 2 to 3 years. And boy, once I can ditch all this house maintenance and yard maintenance responsibility, I have all sorts of ideas for what I can be doing with that free time. And I still have things I could do with my photo collections. I did actually get all my Windows 7 photos over onto that new external hard drive. And I'm realizing in that process that almost automatically nowadays, no matter how old those photos are, there are some recognition capabilities being provided for searching that apparently kind of help you with the older ones. I've got mine all grouped into years and stuff like that. So, but I noticed it was doing some other organizing for me that seemed to be an added little benefit. But, yeah, and then just with everything that's getting uploaded to OneDrive, that has become another organizing interest in. Oh, and then along those lines, I do have one specific photo question for you. When we take photos on our smartphone that are automatically uploaded to OneDrive or Google Drive, I suppose, depending on people's preference, it seems that there's a synchronicity between the two photo files where if I delete something from my smartphone, it will automatically go up to OneDrive and also delete that, correct?
Yes, you have the capability in either one of turning on what's called syncing, and you could log into OneDrive and you could look at your photos and you could delete them and it would delete them on your phone, or you could delete them on your phone and they delete it up on the other. And that's good organization skills. Don't keep every photo. Like I started out scanning. Don't scan every photo just because it doesn't cost you anything to take. I was at a dance recital the other day, and I think I took maybe 100 and some photos. I kept 10. I kept 10 photos out of the 100 and some photos.
Yeah.
Nobody wants to look at 110 photos. Pick the best ones, keep them, delete, get rid of the other
I
stuff.
wish you'd tell a girlfriend of mine that. She does journals for every trip. She scanned her whole life's pictures. Every event has an accompanying journal, and she's just an inspiration to many, but I don't have the time right now. Anyway, well, my question though, if there was ever an instance where I wanted to delete a photo from OneDrive, but I didn't necessarily want to delete it from my smartphone, can that be explained to those two synchronizing devices? Is there a little lever I have to switch or a setting I have to change? Or would somebody never really, in practicality?
That's not a good practice. The good practice is to keep them in sync, because if you don't want it on OneDrive, you don't want it on the phone. And if you don't want it on the phone, you don't want it on OneDrive. So that's figure out what's important to you and keep the stuff that is, but by all means get rid of the stuff that isn't. And I run into too many people. A neighbor of mine had 15,000 photos on his phone.
Ooh.
And I said, you have to go through and delete it. He thought he had lost all 15,000 and he had not backed them up. He had an SD card, a micro SD card in his phone, and the SD card had come a little bit loose, so it wasn't making a connection. And he thought he had accidentally deleted or lost all those photos. And we got back all his photos, but I said, the first thing you have to do is go through here and delete probably 10,000 of those 15,000 or more.
See, and that's what I find beneficial about the process of organizing. Even if you're just putting it into years, as you review that year, that's a real critical moment where you can clean out when you're going through it. And
but you have to make that first step, and you have to do things.
Yep.
And if it's worthwhile to take photos of things, you want to go through once a month and clean up things and that.
I'm liking the photographic capabilities on the smartphone. It's really handy to have the convenience of that, but it's also very easy if I don't review that weekly to realize that, gee, there were a lot of pictures. You can't really see or know with certainty what you're going to get when you're taking.
This is the hoarders. This is you're in the hoarders mentality. So like I told my neighbor, I said, okay, you took this picture. You took this picture 2 years ago or 5 years ago. It was a picture that he took because he was going into the hardware store to buy something. Delete it. You don't need it anymore. 90% of the crap that people have on their camera, they no longer need. Delete it.
Yeah, I'm the
all it
reviewer.
is there's a delete key and you go through and
Yeah.
delete.
Dump to trash. I get real familiar with that one. No, I guess when I'm, taking photos on the fly, you can't via the smartphone really see
again,
how it turned out.
Photos on the fly, I tell people, because I'm a semi-professional photographer. I've sold my photos. I work for newspapers.
You're being humble, Tom. You're professional.
But what I tell people is, if you've got a picture of a flower or a plant or a tree, I can find you a million of them on the internet that are better than what you have. So why keep that picture? Now, if you've got a picture of Aunt Betty and Aunt Betty is dead, that's an important picture. But a picture of something that you do no longer need, or I went on a trip and I took pictures of Notre Dame Cathedral. You think you're the only person in the world that has a picture of Notre Dame Cathedral? Now, if it's got friends and family in it, then it's worth keeping. But otherwise, it isn't. I can go on the internet and I can find historically pictures going back hundreds of years that are much better than what you have.
But the memories aren't there, Tom.
No, I have European trips. Again, my European trips have a minimum of pictures. There's nobody wants to sit through a lot of crap.
I don't travel very much, but when you go to these wonderful destinations, remember in the 50s, they used to have the little booklets of the postcards you could buy rather than taking pictures?
Yep. Well, and certainly nowadays you can find stuff online. But the other thing in photography, because in college I took photography classes, and our classes is everything has to tell a story. If it doesn't tell a story, get rid of it. It's not important. So pictures from the past that tell a story, great, keep them. Pictures from the past that don't tell a story or don't have any meaning, get rid of it. And too many people hang on to these things that, okay, I've got 6 pictures of the house. I don't need 6 pictures of the house. 1 picture of the house is a good memory. 6 is overload. So, but I'm going to have to go. Was good talking to everybody. Thanks for showing up and that. And if you do have any comments or questions, certainly you can send them to me, or we do have the question and answer coming up first part of September there. So
well, thank you so much for doing this again today.
Oh, you're welcome. And get out there if you haven't started digitizing to start digitizing. Work on it, one album. You'll get that satisfaction, and it'll get you going there. So
I'm just happy I have a really small family, Tom. I don't know what I'd do if I had all the members of yours that were appreciating your efforts so much. And then I'd be into the tens of thousands, I'm sure, of photos. But yeah, small families make it easy.
Okay, well, take care, everybody. We'll see
you at the Pizza Ranch. Bye.
Yeah.